Hi, I welcome you all to Caroline's Online Academy. This is the third video in the series Basics of Accounting. In this video, we'll be looking at certain definitions of certain terms that we'll be using in accounting. So, without further ado, let's start the topic. The first term that we would define is entity. By entity, we mean a reality that has definite individual existence. That is something that is separate from the others and is real, is an entity basically. For instance, in a school, probably every classroom is an entity. Understood? Because the classroom is separately identifiable. When you look at the organization called school, in that a classroom is separately identifiable, and therefore that is a separate entity within the school. Now, when you look at a district, then the various schools in the districts are separately identifiable, and therefore each school is a separately identifiable entity. So what is an entity? It depends on the horizon of vision, like from where you are looking at, with what viewpoint you are looking at. Understood? In accounting, when we mean an entity, we generally mean a business entity, that is something that can be separately identified as an organization. A separate business is called a business entity. For instance, Flipkart is a business entity, Amazon is a business entity, A1 Parota stall is a business entity. It is something that can be separately identified as an organization, right? Which is definite, it has been defined as a separate organization. So that is an entity. Understood? The next term that we would be looking at is transaction. I've already explained this term to you. Transaction is exchange of something of value between two parties, is a transaction. Understood? So let's say in transactions can be of two types. One is monetary transaction, the other is non-monetary transaction. Monetary means all those things that can be measured in terms of money. Non-monetary transaction refers to a transaction that cannot be measured in terms of money. An example of non-monetary transaction would be your father giving you a kiss. It is a share of emotion. Understood? So your father is giving love and you're taking love. Understood? So that is a non-monetary transaction. Assume your father gives you 100 rupees. Now that is a monetary transaction because that can be measured in terms of money. Or your father gives you a geometry box. That is a monetary transaction because the geometry box money can be measured in terms of money. Its money's worth can be found out. Understood? So that is the difference between monetary oh, I'm sorry guys. That is the difference between monetary transaction and non-monetary transaction. I'm sorry. Next is assets. What we mean by assets is any economic resource that can be measured in monetary terms in a business entity is called an asset. What we mean by economic resources, a certain thing that the entity will make use of in furthering of the business is a resource for that enterprise, right? For instance, cash is an asset because you'll be using cash to further the business. A machine in the manufacturing unit is a asset. A piece of land that we're using is an asset because that is a resource that we're using to further the business. Understood? Similarly, let's say I have a groundnut manufacturing company, groundnut candy manufacturing company, and I purchased like 100 kilograms of groundnut, and therefore for me that groundnut is an asset because that I would be using to manufacture the product that I want to sell. Understood? So that is an economic resource that I'm using in the business for furthering my business. So any economic resource that I'm using in the business, that I'm going to use in the business, and which can be measured in terms of money, is called asset. Why they give that importance to the fact that it should be we should be able to measure it in terms of money is because there are certain assets which cannot be measured in terms of money. They are not considered as assets as far as accounting is concerned. They are not categorized as asset in accounting. For instance, an employee's loyalty, that definitely is something is actually a resource that will benefit the business of the organization. However, a loyalty cannot be measured in terms of money. It is invaluable. Understood? So that will not be shown as an asset in the business of the enterprise. In the accounts of the enterprise. Okay. The next term that we're going to be looking at is liability. Liability means anything that we need to pay someone else is our liability. Understood? So if the business has to pay someone else, that is the business liability. I have taken, let's say I borrowed loan from a bank. So that is my liability because I need to pay that money back to the bank. I purchase goods on credit, which means, see, what we mean by credit purchases, when I purchase stuff from someone and I tell them that I'll pay you at a later point, then I'm said to be making a credit purchase. Understood? So when I purchase goods on credit, that is a liability for me because I have the obligation to pay that money back to that someone, right? So liability or obligations are the debts that an entity has to pay someone at some time in the future. Understood? Then we have capital. Capital is nothing but the amount of money invested by the proprietor or the owner of the business, the person who is instituting the business. The amount of money invested by that person is the capital. For instance, I want to start a ice cream shop, and hence I invest like 5 lakh rupees in that. I pay advance security deposit for the building that I've rented, and I purchase freezers for storing my ice cream and all that. Understood? Now that all of that is the investment that I am making in the business, right? That is the money that I am looking forward to take back from the business, along with the profits that this investment will make me, right? So the amount of money that I invest in the business is called the capital of the business. Understood? The next term that we will be looking at is sales. By sales, we mean the revenue from goods or services sold or provided to the customers. Revenue means income from by selling the, for instance, if I'm running a groundnut candy manufacturing company, all the money or all the returns that I'll get from selling groundnut candies to my customers is my revenue. Understood? If I make credit sales, my return is that I have the right to receive the money for that sale that I've made. If I make cash sales, then I immediately receive that money. Understood? So sales can be credit sales and cash sales. When I make credit sales, the customer has purchased the stuff, goods from me, and he's told me that he'll pay me later. Okay. So the asset that I receive when I make the sale transaction is the asset is my right to receive money from that person. Understood? So that will also be a part of my revenue. Understood? When I make cash sales, I sell the goods and he immediately pays me money. So that is also part of my revenue. Understood? So in case I'm a doctor and I'm rendering services, understood? For the consultation service that I provide, the money, the doctor fees that the customer pays me is actually the revenue of the doctor. In case I'm a teacher who's running a coaching center, then whatever coaching fees paid by my students will be my revenue for the coaching center. Understood? So it will be my sales. Understood? Which is also my revenue. Understood? So sales is basically all the amount of money or any receivables that I can receive by selling my goods or my services to the customers. Revenue is broader. Revenue is the next level in sales. Okay, sales is an income from the business. Apart from sales, the business can also learn income from different through different means. Okay, so all of those means put together, every type of income put together is known as revenue. So apart from sales, in what other way can a business earn income? If you ask me that, apart from just selling products or rendering services, business can probably let out its properties, that is, let it out on rent. If I have a vehicle, and I can probably let it out to someone to drive that vehicle, and that someone might be paying me rent on a monthly basis, or lease money on a monthly basis or yearly basis or daily, whatever. Or in case I have some excess money, I can probably loan it to someone and they will be paying interest to me for using my money for their purposes. Understood? So that interest is actually my revenue. Understood? And dividend, as of now, we'll keep dividend apart. If I have to explain it in a very simple manner, then dividend means the amount of income that I'll receive in case I invest my money in the shares of a company. Understood? For instance, if I purchase shares of Reliance Industries Limited, then in case the profits distributed to all the shareholders will be the dividend distributed by the company. So my share in that profit is my dividend. Understood? So that is also a way through which I can earn, or my business can earn income. So that will also be part of my revenue. Royalty, by royalty we mean letting out our technical knowledge or patent or some kind of expertise in something. Assume I have developed a formula or something, and someone wants to make use of that scientific formula to manufacture the product. Understood? Now, in order to make use of that formula to manufacture the product, they will pay me a certain amount of money. Understood? For a certain period of time. That is my royalty. Understood? Or I have expertise, or I have rights to a way of making something or a method of making something, and someone else also wants to use that method of making that something. So they will actually be paying me royalty as they are using the method of making something which I have invented, discovered, or which has been patented in my name. Understood? So that is royalty. And rent received, I just told you, any amount of money that is received by you in the any amount of money that is received by you for letting out your immovable properties like land, building, or things like that. Understood? Anyway, with that we have come to the end of this part of the basic definitions. There is another part of basic definitions which I'll be teaching tomorrow, and whose video I'll be releasing tomorrow. And I'm actually planning to move all the English version of these videos to a different channel to avoid confusion. And I want to keep Caroline's Online Academy dedicated for students of Tamil Nadu and move these to a different channel. Most probably I'll tell you tomorrow in the next video which channel these English version of accountancy classes will be moved to. And you can probably start, all the students who are not who cannot speak Tamil or who cannot understand Tamil can probably follow that. Okay, man, with that we have come to the end. Thank you so much, and bye.